ecosystem.
I seek out Dan, a mangrove restoration specialist who spends so much time here he knows every nook and cranny like the back of his hand. He's definitely my last best shot at tracking down the white crocodile. From your years of experience, have you perhaps come across a white crocodile or light-colored crocodile?
Well, I've certainly seen lots of snakes. Seen some crocodiles. I'm yet to see a white crocodile, though.
Okay. So it looks like the white crocodile might have really swum away. But on the bright side, Dan reveals that there's greater protection for mangroves in Singapore today. And that means a healthier home for the crocodiles that are still here.
We have some really nice mangroves all over Singapore, mostly along the north coast. We can take a look.
All right.
And I'll show you.
Sure.
So we are just here in Sungai Buloh Wetland Reserve, which there's mangrove that goes all along the west coast.
Okay.
And then if we go to the northeast,
That's Ubin.
particularly around Pulau Ubin, and then also Pulau Tekong has some really old mangroves as well. Now that's the existing mangrove, but there are some patches of restored mangroves in the 1970s and 80s. A couple of different patches you can see on this map were restored in passages, and then more recently we're starting to think about mangrove restoration on Pulau Ubin.
Okay. What makes a mangrove restoration successful?
The most successful restoration projects work with and not against nature.
Okay.
So we have mangrove propagules, such as these here.
All right.
These are the seeds of the mangroves that have germinated and then dropped off the tree. And these are the first things that we would either plant or would naturally help to regenerate a restoration project. And these have quite specific requirements for the sort of conditions that they can grow in. So what we have to do is try and revert the environment back to what it used to be before we disturbed it, so that these propagules will have the best chance of survival.
All that hard work seems to be paying off. Dan shares that since the 1980s, restored mangrove forests have expanded by at least 14.6 hectares. That's the size of 20 football fields.
So we have quite a fragmented coastline, and mangrove restoration helps us to restore some of the key stepping stones for mobile animals such as crocodiles to be able to go between different mangrove patches along our coast. It's really great to be part of the community of people that are working to protect mangroves and also the wildlife.
What I find most interesting was the different mangrove restoration techniques and how much passion it takes to figure out different strategies to help them grow. Dan's work is very important in ensuring that the crocodiles have a healthy habitat to live in. Without the habitat, they wouldn't be around. I've always believed that humans and animals can coexist. It's just we need to learn how and really accept them as a part of this world. I don't know if I'll ever see the Punggol white crocodile, but maybe there's a bigger story that I can tell. The story of crocodiles in Singapore and how they have defied the odds to find a happy home here, like this one. I've seen crocodiles before, but never one this small. You can see how young it is even in its behavior. People are walking by, it's just lying there, doesn't really care because maybe it doesn't even know much better. All this while we've been looking at dead crocodiles from the past, stuffed crocodiles. For me, these encounters are really, really encouraging. When I see such a young, cool predator living very comfortably in the natural environment, it's great because it means that everything else here is healthy. We're doing a good job of protecting them, and hopefully I have many more of these encounters in the years to come. This journey is going to stay with me for a long time. I was a bit disappointed that I haven't found the white crocodile, but I definitely learned a lot more about crocodiles in general in Singapore, and I would really like to share this experience with other Singaporeans through a series of photos that I've taken on this journey. This photo essay basically documents the history of crocodiles in Singapore, but uses the urban legend of the white crocodile as an overarching theme. As the fates and lives of Singaporeans changed, the fates and lives of crocodiles also changed. So as we developed and the country got richer economically, these crocodiles also, their lives changed. What I hope to do is to help people realize that these animals are as much a part of Singapore as we are, and that we need to respect as well as appreciate their presence here. I secretly hope that when the conditions are right, when the habitat is healthy and large enough, that this majestic white crocodile returns to Singapore and we can all enjoy and appreciate the sight of such a beautiful animal right here.
This larger-than-life structure have to do with one of Singapore's oldest urban quarters?
It really was nothing like that before.
Local pop artist Din tries to unravel the past to paint a picture of a lost kampung.
The clues are there. What we're looking at is the full extent of Kampung Glam, actually.
Into the Vault 3, Wednesday on CNA.
This is Asia Now.
It's just after 11 a.m. here in Singapore and in Hong Kong, 8:30 in the morning in New Delhi and 10 a.m. in Jakarta. I'm Christine Chan. Warnings of a possible third wave in India today, even as the country is suffering through a vicious second wave of COVID-19. And the Biden administration is backing a proposal to waive the enforcement of intellectual property rights for coronavirus vaccines. The WHO calls that a monumental moment, but Big Pharma, of course, is not happy. G7 foreign ministers dole some strong words for China, but they hold back on united action. They're wrapping up meetings, in-person meetings, ahead of their leaders' summit to be held next month. Top scientific advisor of the Indian government says that the third wave of the coronavirus is inevitable, even though he says it's not clear when that might occur. He does warn India should be prepared.
Phase 3 is inevitable, given the high levels of circulating virus. But it's not clear on what time scale this phase 3 will occur. Hopefully, incrementally, but we should prepare for new waves.
And whilst he says the vaccines currently being used in India are effective against the current strains of the coronavirus, the scientific community still needs to keep on working on these vaccines to anticipate the variants. Now, as India is buckling under the weight of more than 20 million infections, there is growing concern. Its limited ability to track those new mutations may further complicate the issue. One expert says a second or even third generation version of the double mutant variety might already be in circulation in India, and he warns some may be even more dangerous. For now, though, those vaccines available are effective against the current strains in preventing the serious illness and the effects of COVID-19. But the slow vaccination rate in India might hinder any chance that they have in fighting this coronavirus. In a population of 1.4 billion people, there are only some 160 million that have been inoculated at this point. Dwindling supplies means that the government is far from realizing their goal of vaccinating 300 million people by August this year. The pace of vaccinations is falling as well. The average daily doses administered have nearly halved in the last 4 weeks, with only some 1.8 million shots delivered on Tuesday this week. Indian Supreme Court, meantime, has pushed back against contempt proceedings being started against the Modi government over the oxygen crisis right now in New Delhi. They have instead asked that the government apprise it by today when they reassemble on how they plan to make 700 metric tons of oxygen available to Delhi. But even with the government's attempts to increase the isolation facilities, there are still critical shortages of hospital beds and certainly the oxygen supplies. Hospitals in New Delhi, Kolkata, Bangalore and other major cities continue to report serious insufficiencies despite consignments of oxygen and other equipment arriving from countries like the United States, France and the UK. So questions are being raised right now as to where all that aid is going to. The main opposition Congress party